we're obviously glad to have you all with us. My name is Dennis Wasco, and I'm with the St. Bonaventure's Catholic community in Concord, Clayton. And I'm also on the governing board as the SOJA representative there. So I hope you're all doing well. Schools and churches and restaurants and so on are opening, but we still have to be cautious. Still have to wear the mask and do the social distancing. We didn't have a meeting in July, so we've got a lot to cover today. So stay with us, and hope it's informative for you all. To start out, I'd like to have Terri read the covenant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not prepared for that.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that, Terri. Sorry.
I can read, but I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's on
I could read if anybody
in the
needs.
agenda. It's on page 8 of
page 8.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, no problem. No problem. I can read it.
Thank you.
Okay. The governing board and the elective council build and provide a sacred environment that will nurture the growth towards a world of interfaith peace. In solidarity with one another, we each affirm our dialogue is an interfaith dialogue. We all have different communications styles and varying views. We commit to be in dialogue with respect for all, expanding, listening to hear multiple points of view. We realize that we are responsible for the growth of I4C, and each of us shares a duty to interfaith growth. The governing board provides leadership, and the elected council works towards progress and the fulfillment of I4C goals as we grow. We recognize that we are imbued with interfaith responsibility. As such, we commit to hold ourselves and each other accountable to merit that trust. Respect for diverse traditions, beliefs, and spiritual paths of all we encounter. To hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards and accountable to our communities and to I4C. Our shared time together is interfaith time. We commit to honoring the start and end times each time we meet. It is our hope that this is a living document which, as we grow in knowledge and awareness, will be reviewed and updated regularly, that it may bring our commitments to each other and all we serve in every interaction with sacred regard for one another and all life. Okay, so Erica, would you present the minutes from last time?
Yes, thank you very much, all elected council members that are here. Yesterday, I sent out the minutes from the June 10th meeting, and I had asked everybody to review it. I did review it as myself, and then I found that it said that the May 13th minutes were included in the video. It's actually June 10th. The change has been made. So given that, is there any other changes that anyone saw that they think that I should make to the minutes for the June 10th meeting? If not, can I get a motion to move forward and approve the minutes in a second, please?
Move.
Thank you, Caroline, and motion, and then Terri, second. Can I then get just a nay from anyone who does not want to approve? Because if no one says nay, then I will go ahead and submit the minutes for approval. It seems like the minutes have been approved unanimously, and so we'll record the minutes of June 10th meeting approved. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Erica. And now we'll have our opening faith reflection. And Diane, are you going to read the the benefits of belonging and the matched giving?
Sure. For several months, I've been thinking about what is very important to me about the council, and to all of us actually. And I just made a list, and I would love to have more ideas from all of you. It's sort of a list of all our ideas of why we are here, why we're sharing our spirituality, and why we feel this is such an important place to support our being. So I started with when our individual communities of faith can join. Is this already in the notes agenda? If not,
Yes.
I'll read it. It
Yes,
is
on page 3 and 4.
okay. So you can see there, it's just individual communities of faith can join with the wider faith community. We bring strength to our voices, and in so doing, we are able to speak up for social change, environmental issues, and for those in need in our community. We, of course, have the I Care initiative, encourages interfaith cooperation in community service. Our faith communities come together to provide resources such as food, shelter, supplies, and other support for people in our community. We support, of course, Hope Solutions, Mountain View Shelter, North Concord, and the Monument Crisis. We have the I Change initiative works with our interfaith chaplain, Julius Van Hook, to support youth while in detention with aftercare assistance and mentorships. We have the I Can program that addresses climate action and networking with environmental justice groups. The Social Justice Alliance advocates on issues of racism, welfare reform, healthcare, homelessness, hunger, Black Lives Matter, and anything socially related. Members receive the benefits from all these resources along with educational programs that promote and enhance interfaith dialogue, understanding, and build spiritual bonds in our faith community. And in so doing, our coming together is our practice for peace in our community and engagement. I would just love to see, again, some more ideas that are your jewels of what this means to be a part of the interfaith. For me, it's just belonging to a larger spiritual community, and I feel that it's in this community brings strength to our voices, no matter where it may be, in community service, in social justice, or as a spiritual group. And I feel that that's really important. Should I go into the matching grant, Dennis?
Yeah, go ahead, Diane. Thank you.
So because this means so much to me, and as you know, we've all had those, had the appeal letter, and obviously I think it's now time that we, I don't know, have a commitment to what we believe in, and in so doing, do it in a monetary way, if possible. I mean, of course, volunteerism and any other way that we will accept. But as we approach, for me, my community of faith has not yet officially been donating to the I4C. And I am trying to develop a model which will be ongoing and continuous, so that it's not just a 1-year donation, have to give a lot 1 year and none the next. I think it's just important that we set up an ongoing support to this community, because it does so much for us. It allows us to be larger than what we are individually. So my thoughts are, and again, I would love your thoughts. How do you think that we can support this community in a way that is right and righteous for you and your community? So part of it is skin in the game, as Terri would say. And I feel each board member and elected council member is encouraged to have maybe a matching funds program for their own faith community. In so doing, it may be anonymous. Maybe you want to say, I'll put up so much, and maybe we can have our faith community collect up to that amount. maybe, again, I'm thinking of another way of putting it in our budget is so stressed, and I know so is many of your budgets. So we're going to put it in probably the outreach program of our church. And in so doing, I would like it to be a permanent line item in our budget or in my outreach, so that I have shelter meals or whatever, and then I have I4C of line item, and something that will not go away, something that can be donated and encouraged. But whatever works for your community. If you want to have it in your larger budget item, I think that's fabulous. And if there's a way you can sneak around, we all know how to get around and get our organizations to help us, or we wouldn't be here. So it would be, first of all, we need to say we all have some skin in the game in this council. We will all donate something. And then to encourage our faith community to either match or whatever you think would be creative. I think that's the most important thing is that I like the idea. I have also, you could check, I have a donor who would like to give some money, then match that with my match, and then maybe bring it to our larger community. We need to be creative. As members of the board and the council, we would also encourage our faith organizations to set this ongoing fund to I4C, not just a one-time donation, but in their faith's budget. Then 3, offer an annual individual membership that maybe includes, maybe we could talk about or discuss or give to the board ideas of an individual membership that includes access to all the programming that is being offered, that or perhaps other or other perks, some sort of perk of being on the I4C. And also then find out what kind of support our members need in the community and supporting events and activities. What does our community, what does your individual community could use from us? What is it that your community needs? May it be down the line you are being persecuted for some reason, and it would be time for us to step up and help you. What are the kinds of things that you see, I foresee, as benefits to your individual communities of faith? How can we help you? And right now, what can we do to be supporting your faith? And we need an active referral program or assistance in bringing in other congregations. Don't be shy to speak up. Include your sister denominations. Speak out to people that you see that are not being represented here, and see if there's a way we can get them to be involved. Have us speak to them or get other organizations involved into this community of faith and spirituality. I just feel this is so important for the lives of our community, all the communities, our individual and the community of the Interfaith Council here in Contra Costa County and abroad.
Thanks, Diane. Obviously, you've got a lot of passion in regard to this, and we appreciate your passion and obviously all the work that you've done in putting these things down in writing. And you know, the fact that it's an interactive type thing that even though we can join I4C, at the same time we can get an awful lot from it too. So thank you for those words.
Felicity had a question or something.
No, I'm just waving in support.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Terry's hand is up.
Terry, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I knew. I was
Okay.
nodding. I was getting ready to do that. I want to thank you, Diane, and also just say that this is not something that we typically, if ever, do, is specifically allocate a few minutes to talk about our financial situation and what we would like from the elected council. But it's something that as representatives of your faith traditions, your faith communities, that we're now having to talk about openly, because it's something, and money is sort of a reality of what is needed to be able to run an organization. And so I thank you, Diane, for bringing it up, but I also wanted to acknowledge that we have a new EC member, Sarah. And so when I was thinking about, oh, Sarah walks in and well, figuratively walks in and sees, oh my God, the first thing we're asking for money, so I just want you to know that this is not in my many years of being on the EC that we've even touched openly. But that's not to say that it's not essential and important. So I just want to, first of all, welcome Sarah, and there may be other new people that I'm not aware of, but welcome to all of you. And just to say, this is not a typical thing, but we think it's really important to bring up.
Thanks, Terri. Sarah, did you have something to add?
Just thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for the welcome.
Good, and welcome.
Thank
And
you.
Sarah's from Peace Lutheran Church in Danville.
Okay.
And we may have Nosley joining us soon, and some other folks. I don't see other new folks, but we welcome all of our visitors as well. Thank you. And so I'm going to move us into a little bit of our, here we go. I'd like us to do a land acknowledgement as we continue in this kind of opening faith reflections, especially we are 109 congregations, monasteries, and retreat centers that do our work together. And oftentimes we will do a land acknowledgement that acknowledges the local areas here, but I wanted to share a land acknowledgement from Minnesota, where there's been a lot of news about the Line 3 and the folks that are trying to protect their lands, their treaty rights. And here's a land acknowledgement from Tom Reiter from Minnesota. I would like to start by welcoming you to either close your eyes or lower your gaze. Take a deep breath in. While we take a few moments to acknowledge the land that we are on, wherever you may be, let us acknowledge that we are all on indigenous land. Minnesota is located on the traditional and contemporary homelands of the Anishinaabe and Dakota peoples, the original stewards of this territory. We are committed to uplifting the name of these lands and the community members from these nations who reside alongside us. We acknowledge the trauma that is deeply embedded in the foundation of this country. The land we reside on came under control of the United States through genocide, slavery, and ongoing occupation and oppression. We recognize the deep historical, spiritual, and personal trauma that has impacted indigenous communities, communities of color, and immigrant and other communities. By offering this acknowledgement of trauma, we affirm the rights of people to bring their whole selves and stories into this space, and we affirm our intention to promote healing, respect, and love. Myself and some other members of our Interfaith Climate Action Network are going to be going to Minnesota and carpooling. We have a couple cars so far, so there is room for more. So if you're interested in going and being with them and learning about how to stand in solidarity with First Peoples and First Nations in Minnesota, please let me know. And I'm going to be back by October 22nd, but other folks are taking a little more time. This is a special month for Zoroastrianism, especially an alternative calendar that they have. And we don't know a whole lot about Zoroastrianism. So I found this great, short, succinct video that will help us learn more about them. And try to disregard the first portion because they kick off this video with a little bit of context from 2012 or 2013.
Saudi Arabia and Iran are bitter rivals, clashing politically and ideologically for decades. In September 2016, Iran's Ayatollah blamed Saudi authorities for the deaths of hundreds of Muslims during a stampede at the previous year's Hajj pilgrimage. In his response, Saudi Arabia's Grand Mufti said he was not surprised by the accusation, as it came from the descendants of Zoroastrians, who are not Muslim. Iran was indeed originally made up of followers of Zoroastrianism, and we wanted to know, what exactly is this unique religion? Well, Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, predating Christianity, Islam, and even Judaism. It was founded by the prophet Zoroaster roughly 3,500 years ago in what is today Iran. Zoroastrianism was the official religion of pre-Islamic Iranian empires from roughly 650 to 600 BC and was at one point one of the most dominant faiths in the world. However, today it's rare to find. Most recent estimates place the number of followers at about 200,000, with most living in India and Iran. Zoroastrians believe in one god called Ahura Mazda, or Wise Lord. They believe that he created the world and designed it to exist and evolve in a way that is perfect and righteous. This so-called law of Asha is what Zoroastrians see as the ideal way that life should be, and every day they affirm this goal in their most basic prayer called Ashem Vohu. As one of the early pioneers of dualism, Zoroastrians believe that everything in the world exists within moral opposites, such as good and evil or heaven and hell. They believe in free will and that good thoughts, good words, and good deeds will repel evil forces and thus bring them closer to the perfect divine life. After death, humans purportedly confront these choices before a heavenly tribunal, who then deliver them to Zoroastrianism's own version of heaven or hell, translated as the excellent abode and the worst existence, respectively. It's no coincidence that these ideas are also pillars of succeeding monotheistic faiths. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are all said to be influenced by Zoroastrian beliefs of a single deity, a dualistic universe, and a final judgment day. That said, Zoroastrians are unique in a number of ways. For instance, they're known for their fascination with fire, which they see as a symbol of the divine because of its warmth and light. The religion also emphasizes individual rather than group worship, so most adherents choose to pray at home rather than at a place of worship like a church or temple. When they do gather, it's usually for holidays or coming-of-age ceremonies, which some compare to a Jewish bar and bat mitzvah. And although Zoroastrianism promotes good behavior, unlike other religions, it doesn't prescribe a moral code of conduct or a long list of rules. Over the last few centuries, the number of Zoroastrians has dropped dramatically as a result of oppression, forced conversions, and migration. India, which is home to the majority of followers, sees roughly 10% fewer Zoroastrians every decade, according to a report by UNESCO. What's more, the religion has been struggling to adapt to modern times without losing its unique cultural identity. If the religion continues to decline at its current rate, Zoroastrianism may soon be something we only read about in history books. Zoroastrianism's emphasis on positivity and nonviolence is hardly unique. Many faiths promote peace, and yet countless people around the world continue to be marginalized, jailed, or even killed in the name of religion. So what are the most peaceful religions? Learn more in this video.
Hinduism has long been identified as nonviolent, largely due to the influence of the pacifist Mahatma Gandhi. However, even within the religion, violence may be used to protect oneself or one's country. One Hindu god states that violence is necessary in the defense of justice and does not conflict with a spiritual life. And even Gandhi himself was killed by a fellow Hindu.
Thanks for watching Seeker Daily. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every day.
Now we thank Diane Maltester and her friend Wendy Tamas for this invocation. For my reports, I'll just share that one of the things that I've been doing lately has been a joint project with the Tri-City Interfaith Council in the Fremont area. And we've been sharing these 3 programs that we used to do more in person and recording them online. And so the Diffusing Hatred program and the Everyday Peacemaking program have already been recorded. And the Courageous Conversations program will be coming on August 18th. That one teaches compassionate listening skills. So one of the things that we've tried to do is especially as we've recorded a lot of our programs, is to put them up on our Interfaith Council YouTube channel so that our congregations can use them. And so we encourage congregations to use these 3 programs together, and in this order. They do build upon each other: Diffusing Hatred, Everyday Peacemaking, and then Courageous Conversations. And those will all 3 be there soon. Dr. Erica Bains and Dr. Harmesh Kumar, a former member of our council, came to my congregation on Sunday, and we recorded the conversation on the Introduction to Sikhism and put it there as well. Other kinds of programs that we're creating with Father Tom, and a joint project between I4C and the Interfaith Peace Project, is Coping with Nationalism. And we'll have some dates on this soon, but this is one that we're preparing to be recorded. And then it'll be on our channel. And we are looking for a few members of our elected council to be a part of the recording of these programs, so that they can be used in our congregations and have some interaction with Father Tom as he leads this new program coming up probably next month. There's also a great series from the Rossmore Interfaith Council and their Big Questions gatherings. You can actually use many of the interviews and programs that they do. This year's conversation question is, what is the purpose of life? And having people from different faith traditions talk about what the purpose of life is from their perspective. You can find all of those videos that are on here, as well as some of last year's questions like science and religion. And many of those are there, as well as all of our anti-racism trainings, including the 2 most recent ones that we've done on transforming trauma, and the special panel we had in March. And there is a recording of the special program Corrina Gould led for us on understanding Northern California Native history. We have a unique history here. One of the reasons why we don't have as many reservations here as other places in the country is because of the California indigenous genocide, and the way that our federal government and state government paid white people to actually turn in the scalps and heads of Native Americans. Our Nurturing the Beloved Community retreats, have already done 2 of them this year, one with Reverend Dr. Dorsey Blake from the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples and Rabbi Jill Perlman from Temple Isaiah. Our upcoming ones will be next month on September 19th with Dr. Ijaz Naqvi on Muslim conceptions of the beloved community, and then in November with Reverend Kamal Hassan from Sojourner Truth Presbyterian Church in Richmond. The Multi-Faith Action Coalition has their August action coming up, and it will be online. They made that decision just this last week. And so it's 4 o'clock on Sunday, August 29th, online because of the Delta variant. And then we are looking for some folks from our council to, especially 6 to 10 members of our elected councils. And if you're interested in disaster preparedness and want to be a part of a conversation between all of the interfaith councils in the Bay Area, we'll be having this one online on October 6th as well. It's 10 a.m. to 12:30. It's not as long as it says in the agenda. We just shortened the time at a meeting yesterday, but we'll be able to talk about the work of VOADs, voluntary organizations addressing disaster, how congregations can have their own emergency preparedness plans, and work with the county, especially during times of disaster, to help in the relief work, and how we can work together in that way. Our annual meeting will be November 14th, and we don't know whether it will be online or not, but we will let you know as soon as we know. Right now, we're still planning on having it in Wesley Hall at San Ramon Valley United Methodist Church, but if we have to, we'll move it online. If we are able to have it in person, the potluck will be at 6, but the program will be at 7, whether it's in person or online. And we want to encourage everyone to take advantage of the Parliament of the World's Religions being online this year. And normally you'd have to travel halfway around the world to attend one of these meetings, but this year it's all online for 2 days. It's cheaper if you register now rather than in the future. So please take a look at parliamentofreligions.org for that. Now we're going to move into our reports. And our first report will come from iCare. And Dave Longhurst, I think you are going to introduce a little video, and I'm just going to put up Greg's contact information in case you need it. He's our iCare outreach coordinator, and if you have any questions about the iCare program, you can talk to him. Dave?
Yes, I just wanted to share the experience we had in my faith in participating in 2 hygiene kits projects. We did one in November with San Ramon Valley United Methodist Church, and another one in February with St. Isidore Catholic Church in Danville. And both of them were wonderful. There was a video prepared after the first one that I thought would be nice to share with you all. Just kind of shows how much fun it is to work together and work side by side with people of other faith, as well as, there's just something about rubbing shoulders with people that's really, really nice. Personally, I've made some really wonderful, I've established some really wonderful relationships with people of these other congregations, and it's just been a delight to do this. So here, that's the introduction. If you want to press play, well, that'd be great.
I'm Pastor Kim Reisdorf at the San Ramon Valley United Methodist Church, and we're so grateful to be here with the LDS Church, working together on assembling hygiene kits for those who are experiencing homelessness. It's a chance to live our faith and to use our afternoon in a way that builds fellowship between our 2 churches and blesses the community around us.
And that is my hope and prayer today, that we will not only be able to do some service that makes a difference, but that we will leave here differently and think differently about our fellow brothers and sisters of faith.
Yeah, I would just add real quickly that those hygiene kits went to the county, and then the county distributes them to homeless encampments. And my understanding is that there's just lots of positive feedback, that the homeless that receive those are just so grateful for to have those hygiene kits. So anyway, I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And I'll just mention before Reverend Julius speaks up that there's an opportunity Monday, August 16th, if you are interested. There's a peacemaker from Pakistan named Naveed who teaches young people how to use video to make peacemaking messages. And if you want to meet with him on Zoom, the Zoom information is at the bottom of page 1 in our agenda, Monday morning, August 16th at 9 a.m. And then all of the other things that I talked about are listed inside the agenda. So Meg Keeley is on vacation, so Reverend Julius. Reverend Julius, are you able to join us right now? Apparently not. So maybe he's already speaking to somebody, or maybe he's had to take a call from a young person. So let's go ahead with the reflection of our June 10th Interfaith Dialogue with Dr. Erica.
Thank you, everyone. Last meeting we had was June 10th, and the Interfaith Dialogue was on the question of how has COVID exposed the real humanitarian needs. So this is a reflection of the group. Basically, we found that, humans like connections. And so one of the things that was, found during this COVID was there was isolation and loneliness, but at the same time, technology became the mode of connection so that one can overcome or at least reduce some of this isolation and loneliness. And it was said that even ministry adopted this method of keeping the congregation together. And what was supposed to be a bad thing, technology kind of helped kind of bring those together that would not have otherwise connected even, in person, because technology allowed us to connect with people that were far out and that would not otherwise be connected to us. So we got to learn about, people of other communities and other countries because they were able to connect. The disadvantages, however, was that some, and at some point in time, most felt this sort of lack of a human connection, as yes, there was connection and then something was still missing. And said that technology was a boon, but at the same time wasn't quite there to take care of all of that loneliness. And also it was found that humans need that connections, because without that, we have seen that mental health crises and other health crises has also developed in our community. And then we realized that human connection is that important for our survival and our mental as well as other physical health. Also, we became aware when we found that technology was, able to overcome some of these isolation and connection disadvantages of COVID, that we became aware of inequalities. We realized that those that had the technology were able to get some form of connection and that help that was needed. Unfortunately, those that did not have technology were not able to keep up with basic needs of life, not just that connection, but also education needs of their children. So we found that disadvantage, and we realized that the haves somehow get what is needed regardless of what situation is faced by them, and those that don't have normally are left out. So that was one of the biggest take on the side of technology. But the other things that was shown by most, that was discussed by most, was it a consequence of not being able to do one's job to keep employment, to have that employment that was much needed for people's survival, for the basic needs. And while we saw poverty increase, the group said, we also saw that some who just had to have the employment, regardless of the dangers of COVID and facing death for themselves and also their family, people had to, regardless of the dangers, go and work. And we had this different sense of understanding of essential workers as well, and how some had to work regardless of the dangers to just help the others. And we had that appreciation. At local and from the well-being of society focus everywhere, the group thought that during COVID and even in the near future, there will be serious consequences in terms of increase in the number of food insecure people, as well as physical and mental health issues, that while we might have seen those issues arise due to COVID, that we don't want to forget them, that as a society, we need to deal with those. And these may be this may be the new norm. And for many years, 5 to 10 years from now, even when COVID is done with and we have vaccination and most of us have forgotten it, not to forget those consequences of COVID, especially the mental health issues that will linger. At an international level, the group thought that they saw an interesting inequality. Where there's borders, and people live in different places, the virus saw no borders. It traveled freely. And yet when it came to vaccine availability and who was able to get vaccine, the distribution basically brought those borders back to light. So the virus brought us together, and yet politics and individualism and countries need to preserve its own national interest. Basically, during this time, decided to draw those borders, leaving countries, that did not have the vaccines become victims of various new variants. And those variants then obviously saw no borders and came right across. So the lessons learned should be, somehow used in future decision making when it comes to health, issues such as COVID, that we should basically make better decisions when it comes to distribution of vaccines, because diseases and viruses don't see borders. I think that was pretty much the summary of reflection of last month's Interfaith Dialogue. The full version of it is in the minutes, so you can read each group's reflection in the minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're going to move into our interfaith dialogue, and one of the ways that we can do that, of course, is with these questions. And we're going to try and put you in groups of just 3 or 4. And if you can have one recorder, that would be great. I put the questions into the chat room. What are the implications of religious freedom with the rise of nationalisms that we see around the world? What is the difference between patriotism and nationalism? What does your faith tradition say about the relationship between patriotism and nationalism? And how do you feel about the rise of nationalisms around the world? So we're going to be sending you into breakout rooms of 3 or 4. And I'm going to just move a couple people around here so that we don't have too many of the folks of the same tradition in one room. There we go. I think we're ready. And so we'll send you a reminder that we're going to come back around 9:40 for hearing the reflections and to summarize the dialogue that we will have. So you should have received an invitation.
Sorry, am I supposed to be in this room? Is this my
I
room?
think
I might have
you're
missed
in
it.
room 1. Did you
Okay,
get
sorry.
it joined?
I was answering Susie Cole separately on something else, so I missed the opportunity.
No worries. Let me just try to send you to a different room. Let me just send you to room 6. And then I'll join room 1. So we welcome you back to our time of reflection and summarizing your group's dialogue. If you were the recorder in your group, you can put it into the chat room. I ask that you also email it back to me at interfaithccc, that's 4 C's, at gmail.com. And why don't we look, we had a good conversation in room 1. I didn't catch who the recorder was though. Who wants to report back from room 1? Jale, Marin, and Thea.
you know, we hadn't gone that far when you came in. I might be able to accomplish a little bit of that. So we had a person representing Baha'i, a Presbyterian, and Wiccan. Sounds like a joke, doesn't it? And Will with his background. And we talked a little bit about how some of us have in our originating documents and on that we explicitly call out that we don't want to promote nationalism, and some of them are even specific anti-Nazi. From a pagan viewpoint, I pointed out that there's a split, not in paganism per se, but in a subgroup that is called heathens. They actually don't like to be considered pagans, but we're moving past that quickly. And they are often used by skinheads and neo-Nazis. That religion is misused by them, and they try to claim the symbols of that religion in their expression of hatred for any non-whites. And there's a schism in that community where there's a lot of people who are trying to be inclusive and to say, you don't get to decide for us what our religious symbols mean. And we reclaim symbols that are being misused as hate symbols. We also briefly touched on how our religious structures, if we're highly centralized versus decentralized religious leadership, can play an impact in how we perceive nationalism and patriotism. And we all agreed we love our country, but we know it's not perfect. And there's some danger in getting too authoritarian in our religious structures, because then we become easily led. And it's very good to have critical thinking and question everything and become informed is the best defense against that. Thank you.
Wow, Thea, that was very concise. Thank you so much. Room 2, Carol Peters, Celia Menksel, Jessica Sterling, Sabra Suharwadi. Who would like to share? Carolyn, I can't hear you. Try it again, Carolyn. I'm going to mute you, Carolyn, and hit this ask to unmute. Try that and unmute one more time for me there. Can't hear you. Is it you? Is it me?
We can't hear either.
Maybe someone else from group 2 will have to make the report. I'm sorry, Carolyn. Or you can type it into the chat room. We'll come back to you. Let's try room 3. David Longhurst, Greg Kremenliev, Nazli Sajad, and Zula Reeves.
Hi. So I was just trying to type it. I'm not the best typist. So nationalism historically is threatening to all other religions. It pushes them away. Patriotism and nationalism are becoming merged so that the word patriot doesn't mean what it used to. Nationalism is based on fear of losing white privilege, being stirred up by politicians mostly because they don't want to lose their power and or money. Misuse of religion. We talked about the lack of youth and young people because they're leaving, they're just not going to any kind of religious anything because of the hate and not being able to trust anyone, or maybe just deciding not to trust anyone. And ways how, well, this is off the subject, how can we make that more relevant? And I think, does anybody have anything to add to that from my group?
No, that's a wonderful report.
Okay,
great. Let's try room 4. Dennis Wasco, Diane Maltester, Erica Bains, Mohammed Chaudhry.
I'll do the reporting for group 4. We basically, said that nationalism is the evil twin of patriotism. It's sort of like a border creator, nationalism. And, where there's patriotism is just a thought that a good citizen is one that basically defends regardless of the concern for right and wrong. So sometimes misses the need to see that there are faults in anyone's system. And that they, instead of focusing on fixing those faults and also standing up for what's right, they basically blindly kind of defend. And that's where, we actually see things falling apart. We also said that the country was built on individual rights. It came from the fact that, we as individuals needed to stand up against the government's control. And, basically it was supposed to be a strength. However, it became a weakness because now we use this individualism and patriotism as one religious group against another. We're trying to basically use patriotism as patriotic behavior in my religious group against yours. And this is where the problem is. And we need to return back, we said, as a solution. We need to find ourselves back to the roots of what, the religious teaching is, because it is sometimes based on religious lines that we divide ourselves or, create this nationalism. So we need to get back to the roots of the religious teachings, which is first and foremost, let's start with love thy neighbor and, kind of start with that and start seeing how we can break this kind of barriers, these borders we have created, one religious group, one group of this color people versus another, and so on and so forth. Also, we had Sikhs and Catholics and Muslims part of the group, but unfortunately, Muhammad Chaudhry's audio was not working, so we were not able to record, and we had some time wasted in getting some technical difficulty resolved. But as from a Sikh, we said that as a Sikh, we believe that both patriotism, blind nationalism, it just leads to division. Men should not commit themselves to any kind of divisions, period. Children of the same God need to live and learn from each other. And we need to form one community only, the mankind, the human race, regardless of our religious belief, regardless of our language, regardless of our color, our social status. And that's what we said perhaps is needed. And as a group, we agreed that, we need to step back and look, and we have to ask ourselves, everyone, is really nationalism and patriotism leading us towards that progress that we all have been working for centuries towards, this unity and harmony we want amongst our neighbors as well as neighboring countries? And I think from that answer, we can probably start finding those little faults in nationalism and patriotism. And so maybe we'll have a chance to start correcting them.
Thank you, Erica. Group 5, Felicity Grove, Risa Sharisadeh, Sarah Bretthauer, and Reverend Sharon Campton.
We had in our group representation of Islamic Sufism, paganism, and Christianity through Protestant, Lutheran, and Presbyterian. And many of the things that have already been said were shared in our group, especially what Zula talked about with the way patriotism and nationalism are becoming blurred. The tenets or the core beliefs in paganism and with Sufism are inclusivity. And there's not a separation. And so there was discussion about how labeling can become a slippery slope in starting to separate groups and individuals and situations. So there's that. Also just how nationalism seems to be rooted in what was already identified too, the fear of scarcity, that there's not enough. I'm going to lose something if I share that with others, which comes down to the core issues of so much of our issues on racism and social and civil justice issues as well. So there was a sadness, that the patriotism seems to have been co-opted now by extremes. And again, extremes in any of our traditions, they tend to make the news and be the loudest sometimes. And so the immediate association can be with those groups representing our traditions, which is not necessarily true.
Thanks, Reverend Sharon. I'll just mention that we started a book called The Sum of Us by Heather McGee, which helps us understand the zero-sum game and how that's used to pit white poor people against poor people of color. And it's just a fascinating read that you may want to do in your own congregation. Room 6, Reverend Channing Miller, Christine Nadeau, Susie Cole, and Terri Moss.
So I want to add on to Thea's joke. We had someone from Sufism Reoriented into interspirituality, a Christian from Christ the Lord, and a Jew from Temple Isaiah. So we all walked into a Zoom meeting and had this conversation. A lot of what everyone else has said, we were discussing, basing on history. When we see struggling economies, nationalism arises. When there's a strong economy, there's a sense of more religious freedom. And I guess ultimately we felt that fear is an underlying cause of a lot of this uprising, this feeling that there's only, a certain amount in the pie. And then if you have more, I have less, and vice versa. Susie mentioned that Mayor Baba had foretold this as a time of great change, and that there's this, and I guess I'll slip to the end because that's where we got a little bit more optimistic and solution oriented, and then the feeling that this is a time of great change that will bring this to our consciousness, and then we can deal with it. That it's important, Channing talked about the importance of listening, and also Susie of talking of listening to people who have different points of view as an opportunity to then start a more engaging conversation rather than an argument, and then responding to that. Christina talked about being a thing about World War II and how people were asked to make sacrifices, personal sacrifices for the good of the whole. And that doesn't seem to be what's happening right now. And somebody mentioned the co-opting of patriotism. And I think that really dovetails with a lot of what we were saying. For Jews, it's this idea of othering, and that this very small minority can somehow have this global control and impact. And so, understanding what fears are based in reality and which fears are not, and the importance of just opening up to in a more generous spirit of having dialogue with others, so that we can, and using our better angels to have this conversation.
Thank you, Terri. And yes, nationalisms often come at the expense of religious minorities first, because they are often religious nationalisms as well. Room 7, Ben Jones, Ginny Ali, and Ronnie Boyd. And Ginny is a new Baha'i joining us today, and so we hope to get to know you better.
Hi. So yeah, we had two Baha'is, a Christian / Buddhist, and a Unitarian. We talked about a lot of things that have been mentioned already regarding nationalism, sort of hijacking patriotism. So patriotism could be a unifying force done right, like teammates on the same team, but sometimes even fans of teams get really extreme and violent. So it seems like nationalism is taking over patriotism. But it's also worldwide. It's not just the United States. So even in India and Brazil and Turkey and Hungary and many other places, there's still like this tendency towards nationalism, which is used to oppress minorities in various ways. Let's see, and oppression, of course, creates hatred. I think I forget who said it. There was somebody mentioned that there was a Swiss person who said that the United States has so much freedom that we have the freedom to do all of these really terrible things. And that seems like way too much. And we need more responsibility, not just freedom. Then let's see, different points of view. From the point of view of Baha'is, we think of patriotism and nationalism as, well, we have a saying which I can't remember the exact words to. I bet Jaleh would be able to say it. But take pride not in being a citizen of your country, but in being a citizen of the world. Hi, Jaleh.
She said that in our group.
Oh, yeah. And another Baha'i point of view is that we are going through a very difficult time, but this is the adolescence of humanity. And we're going to get through this. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really turbulent, but we are going to survive. We're going to get through it and actually have a better civilization, but maybe not in our lifetimes. Who knows? Let's see, Unitarianism, that they don't promote nationalism. There might be some discomfort in it for minorities because it seems to be very white, but it does tend to promote unity. Buddhism does not promote nationalism. Christianity, like I said earlier, it's been taken over. No, I didn't say that. Christianity has been taken over by nationalists, and that does seem like it had its roots from the slavery days. But even the Southern Baptist Convention was created in order to avoid having to give equal rights to African Americans. But they're shrinking in number because the young people now really will not tolerate that as much. And so that I do believe that this is, they're shrinking in numbers even as their vitriol increases. So did I miss anything? So thanks.
This has been a very healthy conversation, everyone. Thank you so much. We are going to have some folks are starting to email me their reports. We will put it into our agenda and our minutes for the next meeting, which is September 9th. And I wanted to mention one thing. We're going to do things slightly different at our next elected council meeting. Rather than going into breakout groups, we're going to be encouraging each of you to share 3 to 5 minutes on what peace means to you and your traditions. And so be thinking over the next month what you will share, but we're going to stay all in one group, but we're going to encourage each of us to speak, whoever's on the meeting. It'll be online like this, and we'll maybe just go alphabetically and let everyone share 3 to 5 minutes on what peace and peacemaking means to them and their traditions. So please be thinking about that for our next meeting. And because our next meeting will be different, instead of the small group breakout, we'll be hearing from everyone. And we'll all want to be able to hear each other's responses with that. And that meeting's on Thursday, September 9th at 8:30. It's the same link that you have that once you've registered for these meetings, you have the same link. So the email that got sent to you from Zoom this morning with your link, if you just save that somewhere, you'll have it for next month. And we will try to send out the reflection and dialogue responses as soon as they all come in, so that you can continue to think about all the responses that we've heard today. Reverend Channing Miller is going to give us our benediction, and Dennis our closing.
Channing, you are muted. Can you please unmute yourself?
Thank you. You think I'd never used Zoom. I have a prayer called When We Are Strongest. We who serve in our own congregations, separated from one another, we are reminded by our meeting here together and by our taking of food together that we work within an unseen company who share our vocation. May we be reminded by our common meal that we are strongest when we strengthen one another, and that we are capable of inspiring others better when we inspire one another. So may we be worthy of this food and the cause that we serve. Amen.
Thank you, Shannon. And thank you all for joining us today and for your lively discussions and for your ideas and your passion and your strength and the ideas that you have in regard to interfaith work. Be sure to mark your calendars for the November 14th meeting of the entire group of the I4C. And also, as well mentioned, the next meeting will be on September 9th. And so we'll see you then. Have a good month, be safe, and God bless.
Can I say something, Dennis?
Yes, please.
I am just attending this first meeting because Ginny Ali is the new representative of the Baha'i community on the council, and I wanted to support her. That's why I attended this meeting. I have been involved in the interfaith activities for more than 20, 30, 40 years. And I was on the council for I don't know how many years as well.
Almost
But
20
anyway,
years, Jelly. Almost
that-
20 years. So
But
Ginny, please introduce yourself so that we can get to know you.
Yes.
Well, I know that at my age, I'm not going to be on the council for 20 years. That's for sure. I mean, God willing, we don't know. It's possible because I come from a background of Christianity. I was raised by parents my grandparents all came here from Europe in order to have freedom of religion with the Dutch Reformed and the French Huguenots. So we have a lot of rebels in our family. And I was baptized when I was 15 as Presbyterian. I married a Muslim Arab who has a culturally background from Iraq, but he has his ethnicity is more Persian. His mother was from Shiraz, Iran. And so we raised two daughters, and I had some conflicts about, Christianity and Islam, but we taught our children, to be open-minded, take the good and leave the bad. So they have both married Christians, and my older daughter became a Baha'i recently. So we're teaching my granddaughters the faith. And to me, it kind of consolidates Christianity and Islam in the Baha'i faith because we believe in all religions. God is in all religions. And to me, that gives me so much peace. And I'm just so happy to be joining you in this effort.
So nice to meet you. We'll make it official at the November annual meeting on November 14th. And Sarah Bretthauer from Peace Lutheran is with us, and Nazli Sajad is here. They'll all be joining us officially in the November meeting as well. But Sarah and Nazli, why don't you introduce yourself briefly as well?
Hi, I'm Sarah Bretthauer, and I'm originally from Indiana, and then I came out to California after college. Sorry, a little loud in the background. And but most recently, I returned about 2 years ago after living overseas for 12 years. My husband and I moved to London, England for 5 years, and then we were in Chengdu, China for 3.5, and then most recently Jakarta, Indonesia. So that was a big change in all of our lives, obviously. And then we returned to the Bay Area, and soon thereafter COVID hit. So we're now just kind of reacclimating to the Bay Area and life. And I met Terri Moss through the iCare project through a fellow friend of mine at Peace Lutheran. And it's been nice to get back to Peace Lutheran, same pastor, and it's just a nice community. So thanks for welcoming me.
Steve Harms is a past president. He's actually was the president of the Council of Churches and helped us become Interfaith in 1998.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm very sorry, it's right a little noise back here.
All right, thanks, Sarah. And Nazli.
Hi,
Nazli?
my name is Nazli, and I belong to Islamic Center of, and have been, I am from Pakistan originally, and I have been living here for years. I have been involved in my Islamic studies for a long time. I was in their board. I was one of the trustees. I did a lot for my own mosque. So, and I live in Concord, and they really wanted me to do this and join this. So here I am. So it's nice. I have been doing a lot of interfaith also. So I really enjoy it, and I have learned a lot.
Thanks, Nestle. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Bill,
week.
can I say something, please? I'm so sorry. Did
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
mention that Rosh Hashanah starts September, I think, 6th in the evening or 7th?
Yep, it's in the agenda with all of the other interfaith holidays. It's all there.
Except this is the high holidays culminating with Yom Kippur, so I thought maybe it might be nice to make a little. Hello.
Thanks for making that note. If there's invitations you'd like to offer for any of your services, please do so with the email that we sent the agenda on out. Just hit reply all, and you can send your invitation to any of your faith community gatherings that would be appropriate for the interfaith community. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone, and
Thank you.
be the blessing that
Thank
we
you.
seek
Thank you
to
for
be
attending,
and
everyone.
see in the world.
Thank you for a wonderful meeting.
Thank you.